quick little PSA right here. For some reason, I don't know, some comment kind of triggered me. I felt like I needed to just say this. But guys, you don't need all these fragrances that I show in all these videos. I know it could be very tempting to want to smell everything and try everything and get those little dopamine hits and those little rushes of blind buying stuff, finding the good deal, waiting for the package to come, getting the package, opening it, smelling it, all that stuff. I get it all. I get it. But in real life, you do not need more than like 5 fragrances. Seriously. Because 5, you could have 5 completely different scent profiles. But after 5, it's either you just want to try a more expensive one or a different brand or something like that. Because you could be completely covered with 5 fragrances. Anything past that is just not really that necessary. I mean, I could understand like a wardrobe of possibly up to 20 fragrances. But even that is pretty excessive. Like no one really needs that. So you have to ask yourself, are you doing this as a hobby? Or are you doing this because you just want some fragrances because you want to smell nice at work or you're going on dates or whatever? Which is all fine. But if that's the reason, if it's just for work and dates and stuff, well, like I'm saying, you don't really need more than 5 fragrances. Seriously. But if you're going down the rabbit hole and you think you're becoming a frag head and you don't see yourself stopping, well, then I'm not here to count the money in your bank account or anything like that, because in terms of hobbies, this is actually on the cheaper side. It's just a funny one because the barrier of entry is so low. I mean, you can get a flipping cube of gold for like $5, $6, $7, $8, $9. So, I mean, literally with a little 10 spot, you're in the fragrance game. And there's a lot of hobbies that aren't like that. I mean, you can't get into golf for $10. You just can't. You can maybe get some hand-me-down clubs and go to the park and maybe hit some balls into a cup or something like that. But I mean, if you actually want to go play or do something, it's going to cost money. And the same goes for a lot of hobbies. I mean, if you got into photography, I mean, one flipping lens could be $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $30,000. People spend crazy money on different hobbies. So in terms of hobbies, this is actually on the cheaper side. It's just weird because it attracts younger people. And like I'm saying, the barrier of entry is very low cost. Before you know it, you could have 10 fragrances and they all can cost $10 and you've only spent $100. And it's just a funny little rabbit hole that you can find yourself going down. So I say all this to say, 1, you don't need all the fragrances that I'm buying. I'm buying these to make videos with, to compare one another. If you guys weren't enjoying the videos like you were, which I'm blessed and I appreciate you guys enjoying the videos, so if you guys hit that like button, subscribe, I'd appreciate it even more. But if I wasn't making these videos, I would have stopped at probably around 20 fragrances. Because around 20 fragrances is when I decided to make videos. I was either like going to start doing some of these fragrances or I was just going to be done and I have to move on to another hobby or something. Because I don't know if I could just keep watching videos and putting myself in situations where I want things or I want to try things and not buying them. It's not really, it's a tease. It's weird. It gives off a little weird vibe of like wanting something you can't have and maybe you could have it, but you're not sure if you should get it. So it's just funny. And then once you start going down the rabbit hole, I think between fragrance like 5 and 20, you feel weird about it. Every one you buy, you're like, why am I buying this? You're like, and if you have a significant other, maybe you're like hiding it from them because you don't want them to see how many fragrances you're starting to accumulate. I think around fragrance 20, you just kind of give in. You're like, F it. I like fragrances. I'm just going to buy fragrances, like whatever. But there is some weird little middle ground where you start buying them at the beginning and you're like, what am I doing? And that's your cue right there. You could just stop right there. You don't need to keep going. You can go to department stores. You can smell stuff. You can get little decants. You get little samples. You don't need to be blind buying every little thing, even if it's only $10, $20, $30, because all that starts to add up real quick. Before you know it, even if you have 100 fragrances that all cost $30, that's $3,000 flipping dollars right there. And that can happen pretty quick. I saw an Oda Erica video a while ago, and it was after like 1 year of her making videos, and she all of a sudden had like 200 something fragrances, and she had like 2 the year before. It was like, what the heck? How did that happen? So like I'm saying, if you're not creating content with this, and you can't write this off in some sort of tax beneficial reason, because it's part of your business, it's actually one of your work expenses, then you do not need to be buying all these fragrances unless you just have the means to do it. You've accepted that you want to collect fragrances, which is fine. You enjoy them. That's all fine. But again, you could afford them. If you could afford them and you're enjoying the hobby of it, then great. Like I'm saying, in terms of hobbies, it's actually a pretty cheap one, especially if you could afford it. You can have a relatively large collection for, like I'm saying, like the price of like 1 camera lens. Jesus, I mean, some of this stuff can get nuts, especially when it comes to collecting, vintage stuff, old stuff. Pick anything you want. Even I like tennis. Okay, cool. Buy an old vintage tennis racket signed by Federer or something. It's gonna be a couple $1,000s. It just is what it is. So hobbies could be expensive. I mean, you want nice watches? You want to go down some of those rabbit holes? I mean, Jesus, before you know it, tens of thousands of dollars are gone. So in terms of fragrances, unless you're buying all niche stuff, yeah, it could be a weird slippery slope that lasts like a year or two where you don't really realize, and then you look at your cabinet and you're like, oh my God, what the heck's going on over here? How did this happen? So like I'm saying, if you're around that 5 to 20 fragrance mark and you're getting those little funny little vibes like, why am I doing this? Should I be buying these? Well, ask yourself, should you really be buying these? Do you need any more? If you've picked 5 nice different scent profiles, you probably don't need any more than that. When you finish a bottle, get the next thing on the list that's intriguing you. But you don't need to have them all at the same time. I have them all at the same time because I'm making videos and I'm comparing stuff for you guys. And a lot of you guys ask me questions. What do you think about this versus that? Blah, blah, blah. So I have 4 Angel Share clones, but you guys don't need flipping 4 Angel Share clones. You can get one. You can get flipping Cocktail Intense and call it a day. You don't need all of them. You don't need all of them. That's silly. You don't need all of them. It's silly. All right? Either save up for the original or just get one that you think is going to be a good and move on to the next scent profile. Unless you just got it like that and you're loose in the head like me and you just want 19 things of everything. All right, you do whatever the hell you want. Like I said, I'm not here counting anybody's dollars. This is just a little PSA that you want to be mindful of shopping addictions and dopamine hits and all that stuff because they all go together. Shopping for something, getting a little dopamine hit of finding the good deal, getting the dopamine hit of getting a little tracking, getting the dopamine hit of the package arriving, smelling it, blah, 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 all that crap. You guys should go watch some Eric Huberman stuff on dopamine. It's really eye-opening, but a lot of that plays into fragrances because, again, it's very easy access on your phone. A lot of it's low cost, so it's an easy gratification, which could lead you down a funny little rabbit hole. The next thing you know, you got 100 fragrances that you don't flipping need because it's ridiculous. That would take you 20 flipping years to use. Jesus. I'm lucky my wife wears half of my fragrances, or this would be really nuts. I mean, even with the videos. I mean, I'm going to have to get 3 times the amount of subscribers before this channel is actually paying for all these fragrances. I mean, this is still coming out of my pocket, so at the end of the day, even for me, it's still a little silly, but I'm putting in the work to make to grow this channel, so eventually it'll pay off. So I feel okay about that. And like I said, because it's one of my means of income, I have some tax incentives when it comes to all this. But if you don't need to be going down this rabbit hole. I know it seems very exciting every day I post a video. Oh my God, this fragrance is so good, blah, blah, blah. That's great. This is part of the job I have now. And I'm blessed and I absolutely love it. I'm blessed. Thank you, Jesus. I'm thanking you right now on camera. I love you, God. I love you, Jesus. But this is the little thing I'm doing right now. You guys, unless you can afford it and you've accepted what you're doing, you don't need to get your little dopamine hits through a new fragrance all the time. Shop the collection you have, go smell some stuff. I love popping the caps on the stuff I already have. And the funniest point out of all this, everything I've smelled out of all this, my favorite fragrance is still 1 Million Elixir. And that's like the 4th or 5th fragrance I smelled when I got back into fragrances. So go flip and figure. All right, you could spend all this time looking, smelling a million different things, and you might have already found what you're looking for. So keep that in mind too, all right? I see people all the time, I'm looking for a signature scent. Well, maybe you already found it. Maybe you already flipping found it, all right? So go shop your collection. You don't need every single fragrance. But if you just got it like that and you know what you're doing, then like I said, I'm not here counting your beans, baby. Enjoy, laugh. But if you're going down the rabbit hole and anything I'm saying is resonating with you, you know who you are out there because you felt that little pit in your stomach when I said a couple things. You're like, oh, damn, I felt that way. You know what I'm saying. This is the moment. You just got to evaluate. Are you going down that path and you're going to be a frag head and you're going to have a big collection? Or is this just a little passing hobby you're going to come in and out of and you'll have a couple fragrances and when you finish a bottle, you'll try something new and you'll just keep it nice and smooth like that, which is what I think 99% of people should do. I don't think most people need a big collection. There's no practical need, but whatever. It all is what it is. So I just want to say all that. Hope you guys are well. Hit that like button, subscribe. I appreciate you. Leave me a little comment down below. Let's talk about this more. Bye for now.